There will be spoilers in this episode. If you don't want to be spoiled, you shouldn't listen to this episode. Go and play the game. It's awesome. Hello, and welcome to Talking Points with Robot DNA Productions. I'm Diencar, and I'm joined today by...
Callum.
We are missing Ewan, but oh well. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about Dragon Age Inquisition, aka Seljuk Goats versus Roman Wizards. We're only going to be talking about Inquisition today. We're not going to be talking about Dragon Age Origins or Dragon Age 2. The reason for this is we haven't played them in a while.
And also, Inquisition has far too much content on its own, so we'll get on to the rest of the series in due time, but this is enough to fill up one episode.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so to start off, how do you think the games, and by extension the lore, hold up against the other contemporary gaming series with large, expansive fantasy settings like the Elder Scrolls series, Lord of the Rings, which includes Shadow of Mordor, as much as they don't want to admit it's Lord of the Rings?
Hey, I love Shadow of Mordor.
I love Shadow of Mordor too. I'm just saying they don't seem to want to admit it's Lord of the Rings. Just
well,
like it's in a blasted wasteland called Mordor. So, how do you feel? I mean, a lot is given to the idea that it's a standard generic fantasy setting. How do you feel this criticism is founded or unfounded?
It's more generic than most, I'd say. I think it does a lot of things well with some of the backstory, but it is definitely drawing on very sort of Western European tropes very heavily. And I'm not sure whether that was a conscious decision, like we will do our own version of Tolkien or whatever. But I always see it as more about the characters and the relationships, which it does do a lot better than other series. But the lore itself, I don't know. I'm a big fan of the Elder Scrolls, but Dragon Age doesn't really give me that same spark that ES does. There are certain things within it that make me want to delve into the lore and look up everything on the wiki of Dragon Age, but overall, I don't know. It just hasn't hooked me as a whole yet.
I'd have to agree with you there on pretty much all the points, because I think the reason you like Elder Scrolls so much is because that the lore is expansive and everything is detailed in terms of the games. You can find books on pretty much every subject. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Whereas with Dragon Age and the Dragon Age Origins and 2, the plot and the overarching world is not particularly well explained. I mean, there's maps and there's backstory you can delve into, and obviously there's tie-in novels and things like that, but they mostly focus on the characters you've met in the games anyway, or characters from upcoming games, as happened with Varric in several books tying into the first game.
I think it's a lot more detailed than most game series. A lot of even things like classic RPGs, they will have less than Dragon Age in terms of lore. But Dragon Age, I think, goes on people's assumptions a lot. It won't if you see sort of like a goblin or something. It doesn't have goblins, does it? No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't have goblins. There are no goblins.
Oh, it's hard to pick out what's the normal.
If you see a darkspawn, you can say this thing is evil because it looks like an orc.
Yeah, basically, especially with things like the darkspawn and things, it goes on people's assumptions. Like, you know what an evil orc analog looks like. You know what's going to be associated with them. Let's just go with that and use that as a jumping off point.
Yeah, I'd say that's definitely the way the game's going. I mean,
certainly it's not a bad thing to do that. If you are going to be using things that are well known in terms of history and culture, it can be better to just have it as shorthand for whatever sort of themes you're trying to express.
I definitely agree. I mean, not every property needs to be the Elder Scrolls or Tolkien with Lord of the Rings, where everything is mapped and listed and every single person must be accounted for as where they've been, where they went, and how they died. I mean, you can look at other games that have been released recently that have met with reasonable success, such as Kingdoms of Amalur or other places like that, other RPGs like that, Guild Wars 2 to an extent, where there is a lot of lore but it's also there's large portions of the game that aren't and the game world that aren't fully explained. They're just sort of they're there. We might visit them in a future game, but we're not gonna spell out everything for you.
Yeah, and sometimes it is good to hold things back.
Definitely. Okay. On to the second point. Combat and gameplay mechanics within Inquisition. What character did you play?
I played as a pure warrior, a two-handed warrior.
Oh, this is going to be a problem because I also played as a two-handed warrior. I was hoping you went for something else.
Well, no, luckily I did switch through the characters a lot because you can switch so easily between them, and the abilities get quite. I wouldn't say boring, but yeah.
I know entirely what you mean.
It's fun to switch between between a few different characters.
I have my favourites that I keep with me. Okay, but how do you feel let's start with the warrior then. How do you feel the warrior mechanics worked well in Dragon Age Inquisition, and how do you think they fell down?
So the way they worked well, if you're, it felt meaty enough using I use my two-handed weapon, so it felt meaty enough, the blows. Some of the abilities were a bit useless. I thought I'm always a DPS kind of player. I'm not the kind of guy to invest in abilities that give the enemy debuffs or give you buffs. Because usually I find, and especially I found in this game, that it was just quicker to kill them. So that may be a personal failing that I need to explore more.
I think on the higher difficulty levels you definitely need to invest in debuffs, because I mean I've played the other games on the highest difficulty levels, and if you don't have debuffs, it's literally just a case of running the hell away while playing a rogue, throwing knives at things while running as fast as you can up away from it in a circle. It's like, please don't kill me, please don't kill me, please don't kill me, please don't kill me.
I'm sure it is, but I played on normal. It wasn't too difficult, really. There were a couple of bosses that I had troubles with, but generally with the warrior, I abused the hell out of the charge attack.
Oh, definitely.
So
the charge attack has always been good in Dragon Age because it just feels.
Oh, it feels like a proper powerful charge, but mostly I used it to just get out of the way of enemies' AoE attacks. I know the dragons, I just ran rings around them.
So, which specialization were you playing? Were you playing Reaver? Were you playing Champion? Were you playing Templar?
This is the thing. I never did them.
You never did it?
No.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because you needed a lot of stuff to specialize, and I'm sure the specializations were worth it, but I was quite happy with my skills, and I thought if I got bored of my warrior, I could always just switch to another character. So it's probably something that I'll need to do on a second playthrough.
I'm surprised by that, because I went for the champion route, so I could be back-to-back buddies with Blackwall. I'm sorry, the ability to the death was just too fun.
Which one was that?
The one where you taunt an enemy and they start attacking you, and their damage goes up, but so does the amount of damage they take. So it's just a one-on-one to the death.
Nice.
It was really fun, but yeah, I know what you mean about how the warrior combat it's meaty and visceral, which is a lot of fun, which is what you want from a warrior, because you want to feel like, I'm a big dude with a big weapon and big armor, I want to smash my way into the middle of the fight and just start cutting people in half.
Yeah. I'd say, if nothing else, I'd say it was serviceable. Which, it wasn't fantastic, but it was satisfying to attack with. None of the attacks felt particularly weak, or like they weren't really connecting. So that was a huge improvement over the first game, at least.
Oh yeah, no, I hated playing a warrior in the first. I couldn't do it. I played the opening level as a human warrior, and I immediately stopped playing it.
Yeah, the combat's definitely improved over the course of the games.
Yes, definitely. Like the first game, you played a mage, or you didn't play anything else. I was like, yeah, okay, rogues are alright, but like, there's nothing quite as good as a mage. If only because mages were broken as shit in the first game. Oh, you're a boss, crushing prison.
That's something I didn't like about the. I know we weren't going to talk about the series as a whole, but playing as a rogue, I didn't feel like there were as many traps as in the first game.
I think again, did you take a specialization?
In the first game, yes,
Did you take a
did.
specialization
I can't
as a
remember what
rogue
it
in
was.
this game?
What's that?
Did you take a specialization as a rogue in this game?
Well, no, I didn't.
No, again, I think if you want to play with traps, you need to go Artificer, because you just get traps all over the place.
Oh wait, these specializations were because the characters, you couldn't choose a specialization for the other characters, could you?
No, I played through the game 3 times with different characters.
Oh right, I see. Well, I've only played it through with the warrior, but I played the Artificer as Varric, and rogue gameplay is I felt like maybe I got too much out of the rogue gameplay in the first game, so this one was kind of old hat to me. But I didn't feel like it expanded on too many of the core focuses of the first game. It was mostly just backstabbing as opposed to traps.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I played a rogue a bit in the first game. It was mostly double swords. And then I played a rogue in the second game, and that was fun as hell. Because you had smoke bombs and blinks and stealths. It was just brilliant. But to be honest, I didn't like the assassin gameplay, which is what was most likened to that in this game. Mainly because I actually felt that they actually became WoW rogues because of.
It felt like being a rogue, it pushed you too much into that style of play.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a lot of fun, that style of play, but it can also get quite boring because you're just only doing. I mean, the ability Mark of Death is just like you're just playing a WoW rogue with assassination. It's just like they've got a mark on them, and then it's not even WoW rogue. It's Zed's death mark from League of Legends. There's a mark on them. Every bit of damage you do to them increases the damage the mark's going to do. Oh, but I could just go play Zed. He's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to play an RPG for that. If I want to play fast-paced, blinking rogue combat, I'll go play a different game because they do it better. I'm like you. I want to play with traps, and I want to lure people into ambushes and then come out of nowhere. Like things start exploding all around them. Spikes shoot up from the ground. They get knocked into the air, and then suddenly they see me appear from the shadows, flying through the air towards them.
And even the Varric's crossbow,
Bianca.
Bianca, she was a beauty to. She had a very satisfying clunk to her.
Oh god, yeah,
I really enjoyed. I didn't actually play with the bows because the elf lass rogue.
Oh, Sarah.
Yeah, I didn't let her join my party.
No, I didn't let her join the party.
I didn't let her join at all.
I took one look at her and went, no.
When she introduced herself, I said, no, fuck off.
I mean, I had her in when I was playing the mage, but I didn't use her.
Right.
But the first time I played through it was with the warrior, and she just she tried introducing herself to me and trying to join the party, and there's me standing there with Black Wall and Iron Bull. Big armor, big weapons, and we're just like, no.
Did she have anything more to her? Because I probably missed out on some good things with her, but...
quite honestly, I didn't develop
the immediate
her. I just think I ignored
really
her, to be honest. She just didn't grab me as a character.
Fair enough. But, yeah, so I didn't really play with the bows. So, I can't really comment on that. The daggers, again, it just pushed you into being an assassin rather than a layer of traps and deceit that I prefer to go as with a rogue. But the mages, I thought, were fantastic. It was very surprisingly fast-paced to play as a mage.
Yeah, I've always found that Dragon Age as a series has always done magic really well to my mind. They've always given you choices and intricate gameplay. It's not just... I mean, in the first game they were a bit boring, but you felt really super powered, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But at least in the second game, there were choices to be made. It was fast paced. You could move. You weren't just sort of the stereotypical squishy wizard at the back who's just standing there going, lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt.
I mean, you certainly could play as that.
Oh, you could play as that,
in
but
down like the lightning path.
you could go storm
But,
and then just
yeah,
go lightning
You had a
bolt.
lot of versatility as a mage in this, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, I went necromancer myself. I actually...
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't resist. I just saw it and it's just like, walking bomb, you're back! Yes! It's just, I had a little sound effect next to me on my tablet that I played every time I killed someone and made their body blow up.
Oh yeah.
Walking bomb, which is just pressed it and went, you are already dead. It was just too much fun. And the virulent walking bomb upgrade was just the best. I really like that they brought those back.
But yeah, the mage combat I think was overall the best. I'd certainly go back and play it through as a mage.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, the mage playthrough. I loved my champion. I really did, because you really felt like a champion. But the mage playthrough, just all those spells.
I know there were so many of them.
Yeah, that's what you want out of a mage game. You want your spells to have impact, and you want there to be millions of them.
Yeah. And also, I quite liked the lack of healing. I really warmed up to it.
Yes, one of the big problems for me in Dragon Age 2, particularly on higher difficulty levels, was that eventually the game did boil down to, you get Anders, you put him in your party, you turn him into full healer mode, and then you leave him spamming heal.
Yeah, because I feel it's such a waste to have a mage in the party that is only there for the purpose of healing.
I mean, on high difficulty levels, I'm sure that it's going to come in handy, but...
Well, again, that would be more... Especially, well, with this game it would be more buffs, rather than doing direct healing, which is still more versatile than direct heal this character, no heal this character, no heal this character. Again, it gives you more choice of... You've got to sort of mix up the buffs and try to keep them all on the right timers and balance it out. So it gives you more choice, rather than just being a direct healer all the time.
I was slightly sad they didn't bring back Arcane Warriors from the first game, but I was also glad, because those things were OP as shit.
I played a second playthrough as an Arcane Warrior in the first game.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
I couldn't get through it, it was too easy.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, I'm basically invulnerable, and I also do crap loads of damage.
Yeah.
There's no point to playing this. Yeah.
So yeah, anything else in the combat system you wanted to talk about?
Was there anything you really disliked about the combat
Disliked?
system? Yes. Other than
the AI?
Yeah, okay. I was about to say, other than the point you've already made about the Artificer not being about enough about traps.
Yeah, the AI there was not really enough choice to the AI. You couldn't really give them... I never really felt like I had as much control over my party as I would like. You sort of had to hope everyone would do their own thing well and occasionally micromanage.
Yeah, I think, again, this is something that I'm going to bring up again. It's like, on higher difficulty levels, you're going to need to micromanage a lot more, but it does feel sort of slightly lackluster when you're playing on lower difficulty levels, and it's just like, I don't really have the fine control I want over these other characters. I can't explicitly tailor them and tell them exactly what to do in the heat of battle without pause, micromanage, off you go.
Yeah.
A slightly more reactive AI to your commands would be a better one. To say, you could play as, well, I play as a champion, say you could play as a champion, and then you mark it, you have an ability that you sort of punch it with a shield that knocks it backwards, and it marks it for all of your AI to immediately start killing it.
Yeah.
That would, or a different ability, say you were an Artificer, you set up a trap that locks an enemy to the ground and puts a big mark over their head, like, kill this guy now!
Yeah, and the other thing that I kept coming up against was, I would have just preferred to have less health overall. So, on both the enemy side and on your side, because I found that on your side, the lack of healing spells, I'm pretty sure they might have boosted character health because of that.
To compensate for the lack of healing.
They compensated character health overall, and it felt a bit... I much prefer the use of potions, but I prefer, rather than trying to balance it out that way, just to have less health overall, because everyone, again, it's a matter of difficulty, but everyone felt like they were doing shit all damage half the time, especially when you wind up a huge attack and it barely does anything.
I'd say that's definitely an issue. It does sort of it does cut down on the fun. Not that the warrior's not a lot of fun to play, but it does sort of cut down on the fun of playing a two-handed sword guy. I mean, like hitting him with a giant ability to cut him in half, and just like dink.
Yeah, especially with the sheer amount of enemies that you're playing against. Like they've massively increased the amount of enemies that are attacking you at one time, and it's nobody's doing a lot of damage, to be honest.
You would prefer it if some of the enemies, at least, well, some of the enemies can have high health, but you'd think that if there's a lot of enemies swarming you, and you start spinning around with a two-handed sword, you want to turn it into a meat grinder. Yeah,
I'd say the bosses and things, they have about the right amount of health, but the basic enemy types, they had too much, and your party had way too much.
So you're saying there's not enough risk of failure from the...
Yeah. I'd much prefer to be playing far more offensive than I found myself playing.
Okay. Well, the other gameplay mechanics within Inquisition. How did you like the friendship system in this game?
Friends.
Inquisition friends.
Inquisition friends. I thought they missed out on a huge opportunity with the friendship system in this, because they built the loyalty system in Mass Effect so well, based on actual missions that you're doing for people, whereas this in Inquisition, it was a mix between personalized missions and fetch quests. And I felt it catered far too much to the fetch quest side of things. So to make some of the characters loyal to you, it felt like it was just too much of a slog. It wasn't I want to get this person's daughter back, or I want to repair their relationship with their father or anything. It was, I want to have them get a buff in the next few hours. I want them to improve their skills, and that's not really the way that you want a friendship / loyalty system to work.
I like the idea they do where it's your direct actions influence friends, and I think that's always been a strong point of the friendship system. But I wish it was done. Yeah, I wish that they'd taken out the fetch quest aspect of it. It did seem a bit sort of meaningless. Just like, I will be your friend if you bring me this thing.
Yeah. Things like... And some of them have really good payoffs as well. Like Cassandra's one where you're looking for the Seekers and you have to do things through the war table and you have to find loads of things for her. It was really long-winded, but it had a good payoff to it.
I think that's the golden rule of game design, isn't it? That if you make someone do something boring or repetitive, you best give them a good reward at the end of it.
Yeah, but it's more often than not, it just put me off. And I'm sure a lot of the other characters had good payoffs to their fetch quests, but when you're trying to do several at once, it just disheartens you. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a definitive negative statement on the friendship system from this game. Perhaps they'll get it right in the next one. Itemization in this game. I am going to touch on the first two, because I'm going to touch on it in this phrase. I don't think the itemization in the first two games was particularly good. There weren't, in my mind, enough items. You just sort of
kind of stayed the same throughout the series.
Yeah. I was expecting you to say that. I want there to be more items. I want there to be more things I can do, more stats. I like the idea you've got of micromanaging your people in combat. I want to try and micromanage them more out of combat and build the best team. It's almost like Pokemon. I want to build the best team. Yes, I'm 22 and I'm still playing Pokemon. I'm a sad bastard. I want to get a staff. I want to pick up a staff and then from a quest and think, well, could this go to this mage or this mage or this mage? And not just be like, well, it's just a really good staff. I'll just give it to my best mage.
I'm kind of conflicted on it because they do give you a lot of small gains through crafting, but with basic things like I'm mostly thinking about armor, and especially from a visual perspective, the armor had no variance whatsoever.
Yeah, the armor is the armor's been an issue for a long time in this. There's no
I'm not saying everything has to look completely different, but if you're moving on to vastly better equipment, at least give me some shoulder pads or something. Like, show me that I'm improving. Don't just change the color of my armor.
Like your basic set of armor, you upgrade it for like enchanted, ancient, runed armor that has been worn by legends and heroes, and you look completely the same.
Yeah, it's that,
really?
For the warriors, it's that stupid scale mail, whatever the hell it's meant to be, but it looks awful.
You'd think they'd have got past scale mail, given they've got...
It looks awful.
The Qunari have got firearms, for God's sake.
Yeah, I thought... At the beginning of the game, I thought, oh, okay, this is my shit starter armor. I better move on from this. But I was wearing the same armor at the very end of the game, and I hated it throughout. Also, and I know that this isn't entirely related, but that's the outfit you're wearing at the keep, your sort of casual pajamas. What?
Hi, Inquisitor.
Who designed that?
Hi, Inquisitor. We must speak to you. Why are you wearing pajamas? These are not pajamas. What? These are my casual clothes. They look like pajamas.
No,
shut up and give me the message.
They look like the clothes you'd sort of wear underneath your important, fine nobility regalia.
I will concede that is a point. It's hard to feel badass, and I am deciding the fate of a nation and a world, while also looking like I should be having 40 winks.
Yeah, and again going back to Mass Effect, you know that BioWare can do it, because Mass Effect you had about 6 or 7 different outfits just for your running around in your ship clothes. So they can do it. I spent a lot of time at the keep. I wanted to look good.
I definitely agree with you there. And just again with the friendship system, it's a sort of negative vibe against what is a very good game. How did you feel about the leveling system?
I thought it was well balanced. I have no real complaints to it.
It felt like this.
You completely disagree.
No, I would agree with that. I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it. Again, it was serviceable. It was exactly the right pace of progression that I would like.
Well, that's good. Good to see we agree on that. So, gameplay mechanics and combat, they've got two sections that have been positive with the combat and the leveling, and then 2 sections would have been relatively negative, and not really understanding why, really, because they've done it better in other games with the friendship system and the itemization and pajamas.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the third topic, the characterization, the big meat of the Dragon Age series. First point, bring back characters from older games.
It's at this point we should mention that this is going to be a very spoiler-heavy.
I was about to say at the end. Do you want to cut in?
Has been.
Do you want at the beginning of this episode, before we do the intro, did you want to cut in a clip of me saying there will be spoilers in this episode? If you don't want to be spoiled, you shouldn't listen to this episode. Go and play the game. It's awesome. Which is in itself a spoiler, but shut up.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do that. Bringing back characters from other games. Did you really like it? Did you like the idea that, oh, I've seen this guy again, it's really cool? Or did you say, well, this is just an excuse to not bring new characters in and set a clean slate like they did previously?
I thought it was okay. I would admit that I haven't played the second game. I do know the story of the second game, but I didn't actually play the second game.
I wouldn't worry about it. You have the best companion from the second game.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you have... that Varric as a returning character, he was a cool character in his own right, but I haven't got the perspective of having him with me throughout another game, so I can't really comment on that. The big one, Morrigan, she came in a bit, I wouldn't actually say too late. I think she didn't really overstay her welcome. She came in at sort of the right time because she peaked in the first game. She became like an all-powerful witch, and I wouldn't like her to start off from level 1 again. So I liked how well they handled that.
I don't think they should have brought Morrigan back, because they did her story and they finished it in Witch Hunt, and she disappears. She disappears off the face of the planet through an illusion, and this is like, okay, so why is she back now in Orlais for some reason? Who knows?
Well, I think a lot of people... She's a fan favourite character.
People wanted to see her back, yeah, because Morrigan's awesome, but...
Yeah, and I liked her in the first game, so I was happy to see her back, and I was happy to see her treated well as a powerful witch.
Yeah. Alistair, I don't know.
Alistair's appearance was so brief that I didn't really catch much of her.
Yeah. It's sort of like, hey,
hey, Alistair,
bye.
So I would have preferred more than that.
Yeah, and obviously I can't really think of any other. Well, Flemeth's back, but Flemeth's been in everything.
Oh, you got Liliana.
Oh yeah. I honestly just ignored her because like she hated me in the first game, and I killed her in the Temple of Sacred Ashes.
Oh right.
Yeah, she turned on me because I was playing at that point. I was playing a mage who hated the Chantry, and then I was just like, by the way, if you destroy the ashes, you get power. So I was like, sup, sounds awesome. Yeah, so honestly, I didn't think much about that.
I thought she was okay. She had a nice little storyline where she was becoming all cynical and beaten down by the world, which contrasted well with the first game. I think they could have explored that a bit more. It was always just touching on the dark side of things, but it never really gave it the plunge. And that's a complaint that I have with the game in general. I think that the dark side of the Inquisition was never fully explored.
Yeah, you do come across a bit heroic in some aspects, whereas like you could be a far more morally ambiguous organisation.
Yeah.
On to another point. How did you feel about the very differing interpretations you could have of certain major lore characters like Solas, Flemeth, etc.?
Oh, certainly. That's something that Dragon Age does very well. And I'm glad to see that it did the same here. So it goes a lot on the sort of unreliable narrator thing, which and that's a lot of history in the series does that. Like some of the best lore is lore that you're not entirely sure might be propaganda.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Solas. So you've got the wildly different interpretations of what he did, and I don't know. It's something to be explored in a future thing because it happened right at the end of the game. So the impact of it will, I'm sure, come to pass. But it does make me intrigued about my second playthrough and trying to see if there is any foreshadowing.
Yeah, okay, were there any standout characters or were there any failure characters that you felt?
Well, failure characters, again, I would have to be Elflas. She had a...
Sarah, because none
Sarah.
of them...
I don't know whether she just had a terrible first impression on me, but it was just so grating. She was like the manic pixie dream girl in elf form, and I just... it really rubbed me the wrong way. I thought I'm not going to be spending 100 hours with her. There is no chance in hell.
Yeah, no, I have to say I'd agree with you totally there. It's like, I really don't want to have to put up with you because you are just going to piss me the hell off.
Yeah. Other standout characters. I'll go with the ones that I disliked first.
Yeah.
So, it's when you find like the characters that you didn't like, it's there's a lot of characters that I just plain didn't really get hooked on. So, the boy from the Fade.
Oh, Cole.
You could see how well these characters made an impression on me.
The blonde
I still remember their names.
Cole.
What is his name? Cole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cole could have done more with. He was just kind of. He was interesting, but he was just kind of there, for the most part. And his resolution was. I don't know. He didn't really have much of a conclusion to his story that made me feel satisfied.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I didn't really get invested in his storyline pretty much at all. It was just a case of he's sort of there. He's minorly interesting in terms of lore purposes, but beyond that, it's.
I mean, he makes the odd comments about characters and things, but it's never really anything profound. It's always just sort of little passive-aggressive jabs for the most part.
Any other ones you didn't like?
Didn't like. I went through a few cycles with Blackwall. I went from immediately liking him to realizing there isn't really much to him, to kind of liking him again, and then liking him from a personal angle rather than a lore angle, and then again losing interest in him. So it was kind of a weird up and down I had with Blackwall. You had to take him in small doses, I think.
My character had a bromance with Blackwall, so I think my idea of the character is sort of very set as, like, he's best buds with my character. It's really awesome, but for you, maybe that's not the case. The one I disliked was Vivienne.
Oh, Vivienne! She was...
Because she was such a bitch.
I didn't really care about how much of a bitch she was, but it was... She doesn't really add anything... Because basically, what I thought about was in terms of, I'm very lore focused when I take out characters in a party. I always try and fit it, like rather than do it from a these guys will be my best party. A lot of the time, I will go on. So we're going into Elven Ruins. I've got to take Solas with me because he'll have some interesting comments. And with Vivienne, it's. You had everything that Vivienne did with her sort of her knowledge of politics and everything. Everything that she had was better packaged in Cassandra.
Yeah, I'd agree
because
with that.
Because Cassandra offered the knowledge of politics, but also but also gave another angle of sort of the Templars' opinion of politics, and she came at it from a different angle, whereas Vivienne was more of a straight, and this guy is this guy's brother, and the scandals that they've been making. It's just for a person that was into the game. It's I'm sure it would have given them a lot more to work with, but for me it just. She just wasn't the type of character that I wanted. I prefer the more cynical characters, to be honest.
Any characters you really, really liked? And I'm
really,
gonna wait here and just wait for you to say Iron Ball.
Iron Ball was really good. Again, in small doses for me though, because he was comedic, but he didn't have as many lines as I wanted.
Yeah.
And who else did I really enjoy? I liked Dorian. Dorian was very good from...
He rubbed me the wrong way. And not in that way.
I'm pretty sure we can assume that it wasn't that way.
I didn't hate him because he was gay. I just hated him because he was annoying.
I'm pretty sure But, no, I really liked him both from a personal standpoint, because he had quite a few humorous lines. He was, again, everything that Vivienne did, but better. He had the sassiness to him that Vivienne tried but didn't really bite with as much ferocity as he did. And he did the lore exposition a lot better because he had the whole Tevinter side of things.
I have to say, I couldn't get over looking at him and not seeing the moustache.
I just thought of him as having Freddie Mercury in my party, which was which was fantastic.
Oh my god, that I might play through and have him in my party all the time now. Just to be like, hey, Freddie Mercury, when did you learn magic?
But yeah, he was a really good character for me. It's Vivienne. I think now looking back on her was probably just she would be interesting if there weren't better characters around her. She just felt redundant. But other characters that I liked Solus. Solus had a nice little.
I liked Solus as well.
Solus had a nice little dark turn to him that you didn't really expect a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, no,
he hated me.
What?
He absolutely hated me.
Really, he loved me.
I'm not sure whether it was because I really like
just go
characters.
around punching elves in the face.
I like taking along characters that hate me because they'll always come up with this thing like, "What the fuck are you doing, Inquisitor?" And then you'd have a little spat back and forth and have an argument about philosophy and things. It worked well. I don't want a party of yes men.
Oh no, my party was all bros for life.
No, I hate that. I don't want everyone complimenting each other. Who else? In terms of non-party characters, I had a romance going with Scout Harding that was cut off far too short. They didn't offer her as she was a semi-romance option that you could flirt with, but it was always with the promise of things to come after the game rather than any outright thing to it. So I liked Scout Harding. She was funny and cute.
Anyone other than that?
Anyone else? There's so many characters that you're trying to think about, aren't there? I liked some of the All A characters. I did like all the politics and backstabbing. I thought that was the very best part of the game was when you are at the Winter Palace. So I really liked their side of things. It was nice getting away from all the direct combats and having a bitch fight with some of the higher up nobles and laying the smackdown of I am the Inquisitor, you'll do as I say.
I am Inquisitor, hear me roar.
Yeah, basically. And I forgot about Cassandra. Cassandra was quite good.
Yeah, Cassandra was my romance option.
She was very stern. She didn't take bullshit, which I liked. It's a common thing among when I play RPGs. I want the conflict. I want the character conflicts. So I want really strong, opinionated characters to just have at each other. Because I just like putting them in the little playpen of the zone and watching them fight. So I'll try and find the characters that hate each other the most and put them together. Any standout characters for you? I've talked a lot. Solas is brilliant.
And I love Cassandra as well. Cassandra was my romance option. Blackwall,
my tumultuous friendship with.
Yeah. It was pretty much Blackwall, Varric. Of course, I love Varric.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Varric.
Oh yeah, Varric is brilliant.
I don't care what you want. If you want a party of friends and bros, or you want a party of fighting and conflict, Varric's got to be in there.
He's certainly the most charismatic character of the whole series, yeah. I'd say.
Oh, definitely. I just love Varric. Okay, so Blackwall, Cassandra, Varric, Iron Bolt, and Solas were my 5. I didn't like Vivienne. I didn't even pick up Sarah. Cole and Dorian didn't really get on with them.
Oh, fair enough.
Just a bit boring to me. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, so topic 5. Where does the series go from here?
Ooh, tough question. Oh, by the way, one last point. Flemeth's return was nice. Still don't like her new design. Still don't really think the weird hot old woman.
Oh, is this
look
the weird stripper?
goes...
This is the weird stripperific
Not only that, it's not even stripperific because she's like properly like fully clothed.
She's fully clothed, but it's like it's a
like it shows off everything.
I know, it's like it's ridiculous. It is.
It's just they've taken her head from the first Dragon Age and put it on a weird hot body.
Yeah.
So I don't like her new design, but I thought she did well. From what we briefly saw of her, she was all plotting and evil and witchy. So sorry, where we go from here?
Where do we go from here? I mean, I did have a point here that you could have an entire game set around the Frostbacks involving the Darkspawn again. This is like a whole game involving the Darkspawn and the Deep Roads, and then they go and announce that you are fighting dragons in the Frostbacks for the DLC for Inquisition.
So you predicted it very well.
I really did, but you know what? The two things I thought they could do in the next game was you go to Tevinter and explore the Tevinter-Kenari conflict, or you go north, like beyond that, just more far to the north and go Grey Wardens again.
Personally, I would love to go to Tevinter.
I think Tevinter is the one they need to go for.
But more than anything, let me into the fucking Black City. I was waiting for it in this game, but I still didn't get to go there. Just let me go there.
They're never going to let you go there.
I don't care if it's in a dream. Just let me do it.
They're not going to let you go there, man. It's not going to happen.
I mean, it's kind of like the tantalizing thing that keeps you going. That was my favourite part of the lore, was that sort of like the city that's been entered and corrupted, and now it's basically like heaven's just being corrupted.
Is it corrupted, or was it always that way?
This is the thing. This is what keeps it interesting.
Well,
which is why I would also like going into Tevinter, like the really ancient side of the lore that's you kind of get a bit with Corypheus.
Yeah.
But I would like to see like the fall of the Tevinter Imperium and sort of the repercussions and what they are today and all their scheming. I think Tevinter's probably my favourite part of the lore.
Yeah, it's Mage Rome, isn't it?
It is basically Mage Rome.
Yeah.
With a side thing of mass sacrifice.
It's Mesoamerica meets Rome.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah. And it's even fighting against the people who brought the Roman Empire down, the Seljuk Turks, who are also goat people.
I suppose.
I was disappointed there wasn't more in the Fade this game. I would have liked to have
Fade,
a lot in the Fade. Like, the first game had loads of it in the Mage Tower.
Yeah.
I really wanted more Fade stuff.
Well, especially with how closely tied this game was with the Fade, I would have thought that you'd be entering it a bit more. Like, you entered it in that one sequence with the Nightmare, and I enjoyed that, but it was less than I wanted, and it was far too focused on the Divine Justinia than... I don't know. I've got to admit, the temple, the Chantry versus Mage conflict is just so boring for me.
Yeah, no, it's really... They did it in Dragon Age 2 and it didn't really work, because both... It was the idea of, like, both sides have a differing point of view. No, it's an overdone parallel to draw, but the Templars in that game were just Nazis. They were just like, mages are always evil, they can never be good, they must all die, or be locked up and shackled so they can never do anything. And you totally say, well, I'm just going to side with the mages because I'm around these people and they're perfectly reasonable people.
I mean, again, like I didn't really see them as Nazis. Obviously, I didn't play the second game.
The second game, like
in the third game, they were more like, I don't know, they were just boring Catholic analogues.
Yeah,
not that they hate Catholics, but they were just sort of they didn't really do much with the whole conflict. It was just, these guys are dangerous, they must be shackled, versus these guys are authoritarian, we must be free. And when you're trying to pick a side, you've got to pick the mages, like, just from a lore standpoint, because they're the ones that will give you stuff.
Yeah, it's I could have the Theodas equivalent of tactical nuclear weaponry, or I could have these dudes who are really good with some swords.
What I mean,
choices.
I could have exposition about the Fade and about ancient cultures and everything, or I could have things about the religious structure of Ferelden. Who cares?
Yeah, it's. I mean, the Nazi one I was making with the point in the second game was, just to clarify, in the second game, if you side with the Templars, one of the mages goes crazy for seemingly no reason and just turns himself into a blood mage and starts doing evil shit.
Right.
For seemingly no reason. Whereas he goes crazy and evil if you side with the mages, because the Templars start killing all the mages under false pretenses, and then he gets super depressed. It's like, why don't they just kill us all at birth? And then after a little bit, he turns himself into a blood mage because he's like, I'm not going to die like this. If you side with the Templars, the Templars go to arrest him, and then he just goes, "Aha! I am now a blood mage and also super evil." Mwahahaha! Twirls moustache. It's the conflict they've tried to create there is really, really not very interesting.
Yeah, it's... And again, they really should have just... Basically, I wanted more reasons to side with the Templars, and I just wasn't getting anything. From a gameplay standpoint, the mages are better because they have fucking magic.
Yeah.
From a lore standpoint, they're far better. And from a moral standpoint, there just aren't as many possessions and mages gone rogue as there should be to justify the hate towards them.
Yeah, all this is made. All the arguments are made on the premise of just like, if we let mages run free, they'll destroy the world, and chaos will reign. It's like, we're not really seeing that. They're trying to go with, and I know you won't get this. They're trying to go with a 40k sort of aspect.
Oh, I really won't get this.
Really won't get this. But in 40k, the mages are called psychers, and they access the warp, which is like the Fade is full of demons and shit. The problem is, 40k, if you have the slightest gut, a guy can have psychic tendencies and can be possessed by a demon, and then shit goes really bad.
Yeah.
In this one, it just doesn't seem to happen, which is why you can understand why in 40k they crack down on psychers super hard. It's like, you must report psychers; they must be controlled, because if they don't, demons everywhere. But it doesn't really show that. I
mean, with this, it just seems like the mages are getting possessed and things and doing all this evil magic as a response to the Templars. We don't really get the impression that it's an ongoing thing that's been a problem for ages.
A lot is made of the idea that Tevinter is the epicenter of all this blood magic and evil and all this shit. And it's just like, wouldn't they have killed themselves?
Then explore that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's that whole storyline just doesn't grab me at all. Politics-wise, I really enjoyed the Winter Palace section of the game, because it was pretty much all talking with a bit of espionage and detective work. That I would really like more sections of the game that don't involve direct combat, that give you that focus more on the dialogue, because I think the dialogue is the dialogue and the relationships are...
The dialogues and the relationships are the meat of the stuff that you want. It's the reason why Game of Thrones is so popular. It's not just the killing and the sex, it's also the whole political intrigue aspect and who will backstab who next.
Yeah, it's the high point of the series. It's what BioWare is really good at. So I would like more politics. Yeah. I would like more politics, and I would like more Tevinter.
Okay.
The Qunari would be an interesting one to explore.
I really want to see the Tevinter Qunari conflict, because I just want to see it's basically, as I've said before, it's Seljuk goats versus Roman wizards. I want to see this fight. It is an authoritarian religious movement led by a sect coming up against a kingdom of Mesoamerican Roman mages.
And that's awesome.
That is really freaking awesome.
And a final point, which I have no chance whatsoever of getting done. Less dragons.
Less dragons.
Less dragons in Dragon Age. It's...
Do you not like the Red Lyrium dragon, then?
I Well, I like the red lyrium dragon. I thought he was a cool take on it. I'm just not a fan of dragons in fantasy fiction. It's something that everyone kind of gets hot on. That I don't really.
There are other.
Unless you could do something really, really different with them, they always sort of come out as the same sort of ancient Western influenced big scaly dragon who breathes fire and.
So if you're going to have dragons, you'd want more of a sort of Chinese dragon, or.
Well, for example, I'm not saying it has to be like a Chinese dragon. I'm saying that you have to do something with your dragons that's different. Like say, dragons in, I don't know whether you played Dark Souls, but dragons in Dark Souls, they're basically sentient rock.
Yeah.
They're parts of the landscape.
Well, yeah, no, it's
So that's
akin
different.
to the Guild Wars series, where there are dragons. There are only like 6 of them, and they are basically continents. Well, not continents. They're basically living mountains that sort of go to sleep
really cool.
every 10,000 years, then wake up and go, "Where's all this magic coming from? Time to feed." Then go back to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be like. They don't have to be visually different, but do something new with them. And I don't think Dragon Age has done enough with them. They have the plot point that the dragons are all the old gods.
Yeah.
But they just pay lip service to that. Sorry, the archdemons are the old gods. The dragons themselves aren't. But they don't really pay as much attention to that as they should.
The dragons are the old gods, but I think if you're going to do that, then make those the only dragons.
Yeah, that would be good. Or at least go into the old god lore a bit more. The first game was really terrible with that. Because I had to look up on a wiki which old god that dragon was.
Well, they kept talking about Dumat, and then it turns out he'd been dead for millennia.
Yeah, I think he was the first archdemon.
Yeah, he was the first one, and it turned out he'd been dead for so freaking long.
Yeah. If you're going to say that the archdemons are the old gods and then make all of the archdemons pretty much the same, then what's the point?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a sore spot for dragons.
So you'd like to see no more dragons, or if you're going to do dragons, make them different to the sort of
dragons. That's why I like the red lyrium dragon, because he was different.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our talking points on Dragon Age and a little bit on the Dragon Age series. We might go back and expand on further games if I ever get around to it, or I ever make Callum play Dragon Age 2. He'll probably get pissed off. It's just a hub city, but
I'm sure I'll probably play it at some point, but I'm not really feeling a huge desire to play for it. But I like this little mini talking points.
I did too.
We'll revisit the series and give a more comprehensive look at the series as a whole, but as just a little short talking points on Inquisition, there you go.
Overall response, we liked it. Good game. Had some negative aspects,
Good game has its flaws. Oh my god, how the hell have we not talked about the areas of the game?
Oh shit, we didn't do it.
What the hell?
Another talking points.
No, we're doing it in this. We're doing it in this
going
because
to require editing.
Fuck that filler. Worst part of the game by far. I very rarely play a game that I think, this just has too much. This is just too much.
Yeah.
But the areas were way too big, had way too many useless quests. I never rode a horse because the horses were crap, but they had way too many useless quests just in general.
One thing I would have liked the areas to be more like would be, if you remember back at the start of the series, the original Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
I would like the areas to be like that. That would be good.
What do you mean, like one huge area?
Yeah, one giant area you can move around on a horse, there's stuff to do.
I suppose, but that's going into... So basically you want a fully open world Dragon Age.
Almost, yeah. I mean, you can have sort of areas off to the side that are instanced, but...
I don't know, I like that it's instanced because it gives you a better... There would be no way that they'd be able to accurately portray two nations like they do in Inquisition. It would have to be scaled down, so I prefer that it's instance, because it... But that's the thing with being instance. You do it so that you can cut the crap out, and you don't achieve that by putting in a load of filler content into your instances. So, they were impressive. The lands were all really well designed, and I really liked exploring them, but there was just nothing really to them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it was my main flaw with the game, that they focused too much on making pretty environments full of filler, and not so much on the characters and making their loyalty quests interesting. And I'm sure you could have shaved down a few areas and put those resources into making better armor. Making sure you're not wearing pajamas.
You're really against the pajamas, aren't you?
I'm really against the pajamas. The first thing I did when I saw my character wearing them was I tried to go to my chambers and change my outfit. To my horror, I could not change my outfit. So that was a bit of a bummer. Is there anything you want to talk about with the areas? Because I have one last point on...
No, I'll let you go. This is the Callum rails against thing. 10 minutes.
No, I have more points to make.
I know you do, that's why I'm letting you.
My last point is that in terms of being an Inquisition and having all of that baggage that comes with it, of being Inquisitions generally, well, I mean the big one is the Spanish Inquisition, generally having that like evil, or alternatively the ends justify the means kind of system to it, that wasn't really a choice in this game. As hard as I tried, I could never make a fully ends justify the means kind of Inquisition. I played my character as a sociopath, basically, who would be charming for a bit, and then when it came time to make the decisions, I would make the evil decision. And but again, it just felt like it was holding back too much, which has been an issue with BioWare games in general. I'd say it's not a choice between good and evil; it's a choice between default and asshole.
It's the idea of you are either reasonable or you are a dick.
Yeah. And then like the dick responses aren't even fleshed out as much as the reasonable responses, so I don't know. It's an issue with BioWare in general.
And that concludes the Callum Rails Against thing 10 minutes.
I should have my own section.
With its own little jingle. Okay, this has been Talking Points with Robot DNA Productions. I've been Diencar, and you have been
Callum.
Thank you for listening.
Into the darkness.